Are you struggling to complete all the achievements in Whizbang's workshop but don't know where to begin? Stick around and I'll guide you through the most effective and efficient ways to complete all 15 of them. Hey there, I'm Coach Ken and welcome back to Dad Legend. Today, I'll be your guide through Hearthstone's Whizbang's workshop expansion. Let's dive in and tackle these achievements together so you can spend more time being legendary in other aspects of your life. The achievement list for this expansion is notably shorter than previous ones, but it's not without its challenges. With the right preparation and strategy, you can complete most, if not all, of these achievements in a week. Personally, I was able to do all 15 of them in 4 days on my trip to Seoul, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Firstly, it's important to note that there are two types of achievements this time around: single game achievements and farming achievements. Single game achievements require you to reach a certain goal in a single game. For example, summoning 12 rambunctious stuffies for Death Knight. Remember, you must achieve the goal in one game to get credit for the achievement. So if I only do 11 rambunctious stuffies, I can't play another game and get one. I have to get all 12 in one game. Farming achievements involve reaching a cumulative number of tasks completed over multiple games. For instance, summoning 40 miniaturized minions. These are tallied over multiple games. So I can get 10 minis on one game, another 4 in the next game, and those will total 14 to my aggregate total of however many I need to reach. That said, to tackle these achievements efficiently, it's best to build decks that focus on completing farming achievements while you attempt to achieve the specific single game ones. For Death Knight, I recommend using this one right here, the one I call Frost Puppy. And the idea here is you want to summon multiple copies of Rambunctious Stuffy at one time, then use the Frost spells to give them Reborn. This works much better against decks that have small minions that fight for the board a lot. Pally, Shaman, even Demon Hunter come to mind here. And the idea here is if you're ever able to stick a puppy, it's pretty easy to complete this achievement. But in my opinion, it's most important to summon at least 2 rambunctious stuffies at one time. So obviously this costs 3 mana, so 2 would cost 6, and you need a way to create the second one. So cover artist is an option. I use Celestial Projectionist, so that's 8 mana. And then you can use Horn of Winter or Frost Strike. You can use a number of your 2 mana cost spells to cycle through and give Reborn to those minions. This is relatively easy to complete. It will take a couple chances, but it's pretty simple. For Demon Hunter, I just, you can basically play Reno Demon Hunter, or you can play Aggro Demon Hunter, whatever you want to call it. So all I would do is just fit cici'gi in here. So when I initially played this list, I think I didn't have Kane or Pozic or something, and I just fit in cici'gi. And, obviously you're going to have to play her and then play out 40 of the unnerfed cards that she gives. So it takes a little bit of time, but Demon Hunter is in such a strong spot in this meta that it'll be relatively easy for you to complete by just playing the game and playing cici'gi when you have it. So enjoy your climb. Easy legend. Very simple. Druid, this one is took a lot of time, and this was, I believe, the only achievement where I had to do it in wild. It was just way too hard to do in standard. You could play, there are standard options, but I just don't want to bother trying to explain something that's just so complicated and difficult to do. So I'll show you the cheap way to do it. So the goal of this achievement is to create a Jade display that is 10/10 in body or bigger, right? So every time this thing dies, you shuffle back in your deck. Now, I guess logic would tell you the best way to do it is to kind of ramp up quickly, draw most of your deck, and start playing Jades, and hopefully you can build them ad infinitum. This is a lot harder to do in practice. It took me quite a few games, and instead of doing that, what I suggest is just playing a quick ramp Druid deck with whatever kind of combo ender and wild. There's a ton of Druid lists that you can use. You can copy this one that I have here, but you'll see that I'm playing Splintergraph. And Splintergraph's battle cry is choose a friendly minion, add a 10/10 copy to your hand that costs 10. So basically, when I have 9 mana, I'm playing Jade Display followed by Splintergraph, and then on the next turn, I'm playing a 10/10 Jade. Easy achievement accomplished. It was much simpler this way, and I had the decklist has ways to tutor cards and whatnot, so it was pretty simple. Yeah, so you can try that one for Druid. Relatively easy to do. For Hunter, this is you want to play 101 hounds from the RC control. So this is relatively easy to do because Hunter is in a pretty decent spot in the meta, I would say. I don't know how that would change with now that Paladin's been nerfed, but you can just play this Hunter list right here. And you can see I added corridor sleepers in here, which I thought it actually turned out pretty well. Very simple to play. It's just a token list. RC Rampage is one of the best cards in the deck to begin with, so you're going to be playing this card a lot. I do like the flavor on the card because the achievement is to do 101, so 101 Dalmatians, Disney reference. I do think that was pretty cool. Shout out. Way to go, Blizzard. Next one is Mage. The Mage one is to discount a spell 6 times with Watercolor Artist. Basically, all you do is you just take Watercolor Artist, and what it does is draw a frost spell at the start of your turn, reduce the cost by 1. So this thing doesn't have to survive. So this achievement is actually really, really easy. You just need to discount a spell 6 times. So, and it has to be a frost spell. So you notice you want to get a spell like Blizzard, or there's another 6 mana frost spell, but I would take in Wild there are other options, but I would just take Blizzard, and then you play a deck, just a deck that you're not going to die quickly, and then play Watercolor Artist, discount your Blizzard, and at least let it get discounted six times, and then easy achievement, really simple to achieve. I did do this one in Wild as well. I used a Sand Binder or something to tutor for the Water Elemental, or for the Watercolor Artist quickly, but it's very simple. Paladin, this one actually, I think this could be a little difficult. I used this deck to do a number of the achievements, including the Caricature Artist one. So this is a Reno Paladin list. What I would suggest here is the goal here is to kind of just play your cards out, and as your deck gets kind of low on cards, maybe like 4 or 5 cards, you'll see that you just have tradables. You'll have Wind Up Enforcer, Wind Up Musician, or whatever, and you just keep trading these. Like when you have 8 or 9 mana, you just keep cycle through trading these cards back and forth until you have traded Wind Up Enforcer 6 times, right? So, yes. So, I'm sorry, 5 times. And then the goal is to just play this and create 6 copies on the board. And then bam, there you go, achievement done. This one might take 1 or 2 games to get by because obviously you have to stay alive. Also, this card runs Spirit of the Badlands, or this deck runs Spirit of the Badlands, which gives you a Mirage card that becomes a card in your deck. Do not trade away the card if the Mirage card becomes Wind Up Enforcer. Do not trade the Mirage card. Okay, just go ahead and summon it. The Mirage card is a free card to play, so play it and don't trade it. All right, only trade the real version of the card. But this deck is very simple. I also was able to complete the Caricature Artist achievement, which is to give a draw a minion, give it a mustache, and then kill your opponent with that minion, which I was able to do in this game. Right? It's kind of just a game that kind of drags or a deck that kind of drags the game out, and it's pretty simple to play. Priest is the next one. I just played Highlander Priest, so here's the list. This one is very easy. The way I would do it is I would play Elise, so that you have a board full of minions, and if it sticks, then the next turn just play Repackage. So it just says to get 30 cost worth of minions into the box. On your side of the board you're gonna have something like at least 20 some mana worth of minions on the board, and if they have anything on their side, then this is really easy to do. I think it took me 1 game to do this one. So very simple. Rogue, this is probably the hardest one, I would say. So what you have to do here is obviously you need Shoplifter Goldbeard, and so this is the legendary here. After you summon a pirate, summon a copy of it that attacks a random enemy, then dies. Now, a couple things have to happen here. The achievement is to summon 6 of these, so board space is very, very limited. Because keep in mind that he needs to be alive, so that's 1 minion on the board, and then you need to play a minion, and then you need another space for another minion to attack. So, and you need this to hit 6. You need this to hit 6 times, right? So that's a bit of a challenge for many decks. So you're going to have to really manage your hand size as well as your spells well. And what I've created here is just a pirate rogue with a ton of cheap 1-drops. And the goal here is to reach like 9 or 10 mana. And you do something like you play the miniaturized version of Sandbox Scoundrel. So actually, like early in the game, you'll play Sandbox Scoundrel, you'll get a mini. And then on your combo turn, you'll play the mini, the 1/1. Then you'll play Shoplifter, right? So and then after the Shoplifter, you play 6 1-drops, right? So you're gonna play South Sea Deckhand, Swashbucklers, Treasure Distributor, whatever, and then use your Shadow Step to bounce back minions so that you have enough space on the board for the generated minions to attack. That is a very, very important part of this deck, of this achievement. It is very, very hard to achieve. I think the hardest one easily. And this is why I think it's most important when expansions come out that you try to farm them as quick as possible, because some of them just become just like unmanageably difficult to do. The Shaman one is just to kill minions with the volcano spell, and I use none other than Hentai Shaman. I talked about this deck as one of my recommended decks for the ladder. It is still very good, I think. This is basically Tentacle Shaman, and obviously you just use baking soda volcano, kill a lot of minions, whether it's yours or your enemies, no big deal. This is a pretty simple farming one. This is also a good deck to complete the miniaturized neutral achievement, as well as the corridor sleeper neutral achievement. And this deck originally had 2 corridor sleepers in here, and you could just put it in for whatever cards you're missing. So really simple one, and it's actually very, very fun to play. Warlock, this is, in my opinion, the most annoying of the farming ones, okay? Because basically what the achievement requires you to do is cast the temporary shadow spell that you get off of Sketch Artist. So Sketch Artist, what he does is he draws a shadow spell from your deck, and then he makes a temporary copy that disappears at the end of the turn. Sketch Artist is a great card. Like, the way that you want to use this card in competitive play, I believe, is to tutor for your late game option. So I'll show, not in this video, but in a future video, I'll show a deck list on how to play Wheel of Fortune in Wild, because there's a very simple solution where you just use Sketch Artist to tutor for Bloodborne Bloodthorn, or for Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of Death, and it's a very strong deck. However, to complete this achievement, obviously you need 3 mana to cast Sketch Artist, and then you need however many more mana to cast the spell. So if you're trying to farm this, you want that extra spell to be as fast as possible. So what I have for you here is this deck list where the 3 mana spell gets you only two mana spells. It either gets you Defile, or the 3 mana Sketch Artist either gets you Defile or Endgame, which is Resurrecting a Demon. And this was the fastest way for me to do it, because I knew by turn 5 I'd be able to play Sketch Artist and work towards the achievement. The deck was actually pretty fun. This is a Excavate demon package, kind of cool. I don't know if it's really competitive. I actually think it does really well into Demon Hunter, because it has a lot of taunts, kind of good board. But you can try this list or any other list. Just my recommendation, like I said, would be put very few shadow spells and make sure they're very cheap, so that's easy for you to cast. There's no way around this. This one at minimum will take you 20 games. Warrior one is pretty easy. And Warrior 1, I think it was one of the most fun ones. And this is why I really enjoy the achievements, because the achievements show you the strength and possibilities of other cards. So this one revolves around making 50 lab patrons. Not in a single game, but over however many games. And for lab patron, it says the first time you gain armor each turn, summon another lab patron. Now, when I read this, I assumed that this card was bad, because, I thought, okay, well, I play a lab patron, I gain armor that turn, and I create another lab patron, but then I'm no longer able to get lab patrons that turn because I've already gained armor that turn. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's not how it works. Every lab patron has its own trigger for armor. So you can play a lab patron, gain armor, create a lab patron, gain more armor, and create another lab patron. So it is actually, I completed this achievement in 3 total games. So that means on average, I was making, 17 lab patrons a game. And I was doing all of these in standard rank ladder. Here's a deck. You might find it fun. It's pretty simple. Save your cheap armor for when you have lab patrons available. And then, you can either do like a double armor turn where you get double patrons, or you can play double patrons and then armor up to get, 2 more patrons or whatnot. It's very, very cool. Like, it has some weaknesses, but I think it shows promise. And in the next month or so, I do think I'm going to develop a warrior deck, a tempo warrior deck or something that has lab patron as one of its main cards in there. I think this card is slept on, and it's actually pretty good. So, try that out, see if that's fun. So for neutrals, there are 4. Actually, I think there's 5, so let's go take a look at them real quick. 5 neutral achievements, and just to show that I have, in fact, done all of these, there's 100%, right? I don't want to be the guy saying that I did all of these and I didn't really do all of these achievements. So there are 4. Play 80 mini minions. If you play Paladin, or you play Demon Hunter, or you play Shaman, don't worry about it. You're going to get these done way before the achievement period ends, right? You have like 3 or 4 months. So this isn't a problem. I'm sure you don't have to rush this one. Awaken 40 quarter sleepers. Unless you play quarter sleepers, you're obviously not going to do this. So I would start fitting it into deck lists where you can, if you really are adamant about completing it. Quarter sleeper is not a bad card. I think at first everyone thought okay, the metas are too aggressive for it to be a card. Like, it doesn't have enough board control, or it doesn't fight for the board well enough. But I think this is further from the truth. There are ways to clear the board to give corridor sleeper value. So I know it's not a tempo play; it loses tempo, but dropping this turn 1, turn 2, and then fighting for the board with other resources or AOE spells or whatever, and then having a 3/3/5 is pretty decent. It's not horrible, very, very playable. I must ask you a question. Like I said, you have to use caricature artists, and then swing for lethal with the character that has the mustache. So obviously, this might take a little planning or whatnot, but you can get this done, and you can just throw caricature artists in a bunch of different decks. Ziliax, the perfection. So this one is to play 8 different Ziliax creations, and I did this in the first 8 games of the expansion by just playing a different Ziliax every game. So I would just play the same deck list. I think at the time I was using Hunter, and I just kept changing the Ziliax in the Hunter deck. So the Ziliax, when you see the customization, there's 8 different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different modules. What my recommendation, because the least expensive module always goes on the top. Okay, so my recommendation would be to start from the most expensive module down. So I would play ticking module plus this one, recursive module. Then I would play haywire module plus ticking module. Then I would play power module plus ticking module, pylon module plus ticking module, virus module plus ticking module, twin module plus ticking module. Then I'd play perfect module plus ticking module. Then I would play power module plus perfect module, and then that will give you 8. Okay, I don't. By that point, you should have already gotten all the achievements for all the Ziliaxes played. But that's the best way. This way, you don't lose track of what modules you've played, and you're like, oh shoot, did I forget to do this one or whatever. That way you cover all your bases. I hope these pointers were helpful for you in any way. Share your achievement experience in the comments. Let me know, which ones did you really like? Were they difficult? This expansion only has 15 achievements versus the 50 or whatever in last expansion, which means a lot less gold and a lot less experience for the tavern or the reward pass, right? As a guy who wants to complete all the achievements, I don't want too many. I'm not sure if 15 is too little, But I know that I'd rather have 15 than 50, even if that means less gold on the reward track. I mean, I'm a whale, so it doesn't matter to me. But like, even though it means less gold, I just don't want to be spending too much time farming these things, because, like I said, after once an expansion, once a new expansion comes out, these achievements can't be done for experience anyway. So you do have to prioritize them if you're planning to get them for experience, right? So, let me know in the comments what you think about that. What do you think about the achievements? Like, where's Blizzard going with it? Are they getting money hungry? Like, what do you think about the game and the achievement methodology so far? And I hope this video was helpful to you, and I'll see you next time.